Video games, they're easy to love and are often worth admiration for the innovative creativity that goes into certain titles. In this minimalistic white room, someone will beta test one of those advanced new creations. But the question is, do video games have the potential to be too innovative? Welcome to Adventure Recapped. Today, I'll be diving into Playtest from the anthology series Black Mirror. Spoilers ahead, watch out and take care. Cooper packs his things and then takes a good look at himself before leaving without his passport. His mom calls him, but he doesn't answer. He travels all over, and the photographs suggest an unforgettable experience. Near his trip's end, he meets up with a girl from a dating app named Sonia. It's through their conversation we learn just how extensive this trip has been. Sydney, Thailand, India, Rome, Spain. She asks him if the purpose of his journey was to find himself, and he confesses it was more of an excuse to avoid certain family problems back home. The following morning finds them in Sonia's bed. She playfully bites his chest to wake him up, and the two continue conversation. He explains the scar on his shoulder was a gift from his high school bully Joshua Peters. His mom calls him, but he doesn't answer. While Sonia prepares breakfast, he takes a look around and admires her collection of video games. His mom calls him, but he doesn't answer. Over breakfast, Cooper opens up about the specifics that led him to taking this trip. He was caring for his father, who was suffering through Alzheimer's. He wasn't just his dad, he was his best friend. To see him like that really affected Cooper. And when he died, Cooper didn't know how to be there for his mom. What to say, what to do. He wasn't ready, so he left. Sonia kisses his forehead and tells him he's a good guy. Cooper tries to get cash from an ATM, but the money in his account has been drained. So at this point, he can't even get a ticket back to America. He tries to figure something out, almost calls his mom, but then decides against it. Sonia lets him stay at her house. He tells her he'll make the money he needs with an app called Odd Jobs. One catches his eye right away, where he would playtest the latest game for a highly regarded gaming company. Sonia tells him he should snap a photo of the game if he can, because a leak like that would get him a stupid amount of cash. Cooper arrives at the company's headquarters and is introduced to Katie. She takes him to a room, but before they step inside, she insists on holding onto his phone for the duration of his time there. Cooper learns he'll be testing a highly advanced augmented reality system. She tells him there's a surgical procedure involved, but that it's over in a matter of seconds and it's temporary. The contract is missing the page he'd need to sign his name, so Katie goes to fetch it. While she's out, he scrambles to grab his phone and snaps a photo of the gaming system. She comes back and prepares for the minor surgical part, while he asks for clarification she's qualified to do this. Katie lightheartedly tells him that she hasn't killed anyone yet. With the simulator now active, Cooper is instructed to watch the targets on the table and tell her what he sees. A gopher whose graphics render better by the second. He engages in a game of whack-a-mole with the cute little guy, and it's a total blast. He loves it. But then that's it, the demo's over long before he's ready for it to be. Katie tells him they'd be up for letting him test the bigger picture product for more money if he'd like that. Of course, Cooper says yes. Katie takes Cooper to Mr. Sato, the company's CEO. What they create allows people to face their fears in a safe environment. What they're working on is the most personal horror-themed game in history. A game that will scare you based on what it gathers from your mind. They map Cooper's mind in order to determine how to best terrify him. When they extract what they need, they remove the device from Cooper's head and ask if he's ready to play. Katie takes him to a gorgeous, albeit daunting mansion where the game takes place. The rules are simple. He inhabits the mansion alone, sees how long he can last until he gets too scared and doesn't want to continue. They come up with a safe word which would signal that he'd like out, and the word is stop. Cooper is given an earpiece so that he can communicate with Katie. Nothing he sees can physically harm him, it's all audio and visual. Katie leaves for the control room while Cooper takes a look around. Without TV or internet, he turns to a book in an attempt to cure his boredom. He freaks out when he sees what he considers to be a huge, scary spider. Katie says she doesn't see it. When he stomps on it, the spider completely disappears. Banging from upstairs concerns Cooper a bit. He tries to convince himself it's just a leaky pipe. Turns his head. Whoa. Katie asks him what it is he sees, and he realizes the man resembles the bully from high school that stabbed him, Joshua Peters. Cooper grabs a snack from the kitchen cupboard and pauses. He notes that his school bully is going to be right behind the cupboard once he closes it, because that's how this works. Cooper closes the cupboard and sees the bully's shadow. The bully turns into an enormous spider, and I can't do spiders. This is really freaking me out. Katie tries to say something, but the sound is muffled, and then it completely cuts off. There's a banging on the front door. The closer Cooper gets, the louder and more aggressive it sounds. When he opens the door, he finds Sonia. She tells him he's in danger, but Cooper seems both giddy to see her and impressed. As she tries to explain things, he can only focus on how wild it is that she's part of the test. She tells him 5 tourists have disappeared in the last year, all of whom had that Odd Jobs app. He doesn't buy it. No, Cooper tells her that if what she's saying is true, then she'd have no problem explaining how it is she found him. When Sonia tells him that she tracked him through the Find My Friend app, he lets her know that they took his phone and that it's being stored right now about a mile out. He laughs, she doesn't. Sonia coldly brushes past him and asks him if he ever wondered how his bank account got hacked. She grabs a steak knife. Lets him know that it's her who drew his attention to this job, and that he should have called his mom for help instead of her because it's her who led him here. And then she stabs him with the knife. He feels it. He's not supposed to, but he does. She jumps on top of him. He reaches for a piece of broken glass from a bottle, but she pushes the blade out deeper, and then her skin morphs off her face, revealing a disgusting, bloodied skull. He grabs the bloody skull and drives it into the blade that's protruding out of his shoulder. He writhes in pain, and then realizes the wound is no longer there. Katie's microphone suddenly works again, and he tries to explain to her what just happened. He was stabbed and he felt it. She argues that's not possible, so Cooper, annoyed, uses the safe word because he wants out. Katie tells him they're going to commence deactivation, but he'll have to get to the access point first. He hates so badly that he's got to walk upstairs to get to the access point, but he does what he has to do. When Cooper sees the door that he'd have to walk into in order to deactivate this thing, he immediately becomes terrified. He says he knows something horrible is going to be in there waiting for him. Katie tries to comfort him, but that angers Cooper because she has no control over what is or isn't in there. These things are projections from his mind and not simply scary creatures and ghosts pre-placed on a world map. His panic increases. He says he knows this is going to be something to do with his mom. Katie tells Cooper that this will all be over as soon as he walks in. So finally, Cooper does. And there's nothing in there. All is calm until he asks where the access point is. Katie tells him there is no access point. He was led to that room to see if they'd broken him enough that he would completely obey them. Cooper turns around and the door is gone. She inquires as to what his mom looks like, but he can't remember. She inquires as to where he grew up, but he's not sure. They're overriding his memories. She tells him to look in the mirror. He doesn't recognize who he sees. She tells him he's going to end up just like his dad. He breaks the glass from the mirror and tries to cut the chip out of his neck. The staff barge into the room, including the real Katie and Mr. Saito. They try to get him out of the simulator, but she can't seem to override the effect it has garnered over him. His memories of anything and everything have completely melted. Mr. Saito apologizes to him and tells the staff to put him with the rest. As he's taken away, he bounces back to the room where they were extracting his fear. Katie tells Mr. Saito that the processor is still way too powerful. Cooper's paid and finally returns home to speak with his mom. He steps into her room and finds her crying where she sits on her bed. He calls out to her and she walks over to him, says she has to call her son. He tries once more to get her attention, and she asks where Cooper went. Something's not right. A vibration. We smash back to Saito's building. Cooper's convulsing in the white room all this started in. His mom calling his cell phone causes signal interference that fries his brain. Katie seems confused, assures Mr. Saito that she turned off his phone. His mother calls, but he can't answer. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to the channel with your post notifications on. It would really help out a lot.